We are live. Thank you, Dr. Kim Dang, for being on the Just Grow podcast. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Niko.
It's interesting. Like a lot of times when I do these podcasts, I think it's fun to reflect on how we even got here. And
Yeah.
so I think it was just kind of a fortuitous path because we met at Alex Moscow's event. Got to shout out Alex. I learned a lot from him over the last year, and then we were supposed to connect and have a call shortly after that, and then it just didn't work out. And then a few months later, we reconnected, and here we are. So, yeah, it's exciting. I think there's a lot of alignment through our conversations that we've already had, and excited to learn more about you and what makes you tick and how you got into entrepreneurship and what your vision is moving forward. Obviously, I have a glimpse into that already, but yeah, excited to just have a conversation and see what's possible with this whole world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, totally agree. Timing is everything, right? Time is not so much important.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. It's we met and connected at the exact right time.
Hmm. Definitely. So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got into the world of entrepreneurship, and you're throwing these amazing retreats that I've heard so much about. That there's
Thank
potential
you.
for me to come out to one of them that I'm excited about too. So you're doing some powerful work, and would love to hear how you got here.
Well, I never planned on running retreats. I never planned on starting a business, a coaching business of any sort. However, I worked for over 10 years in a film industry, and I realized with all the strikes that happened in the recent years, the writer strike, the actor strike, and then before that, a couple of years, COVID, it became very difficult for me to sustain the energy and my pace. And so I asked myself the question of what can I do to get the time freedom back, but also maintain the money freedom. And then entrepreneurship really was the solution, right? For entrepreneurs like us, yes, we are passionate about what we're doing, but also what really hooks you is that you're on your own path, you have your own freedom in how you divide your time, where you are geographically, what people you surround yourself with. So I think that really got me. Uh, that really got me started.
So it was from a place of like just wanting to get around more of the people that you really want to surround yourself with. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. And then when it came to the retreats, a friend of mine asked me if I would run a retreat with her. At that point, she had renovated a place out of in the countryside out of Copenhagen in Denmark.
Oh, wow.
And it was her place, and she had organized a couple of music festivals there, some film events, and she always had, when she renovated that place, she always had in mind running retreats. And since she had done my coaching program and I had done her coaching program, and we really liked each other's programs, we decided to run our first retreat together. And when she asked me, I have to be super honest, I said no for at least 3 times. When she asked me, do you want to run this retreat? And I said no, because from film producing, I know what it takes. You know, you need to think of all the little things like food and how people travel there, and what are we teaching and the program. And it was it was very daunting, to be very honest, knowing that it doesn't fall from the sky without, proper preparation in that sense. But as time went along, I thought about it and I agreed to do it with her, and it became really a good thing. Actually, it became a good thing after the retreat, after the first retreat, when we learned what had happened to all the participants or for the participants. Um, really all of them completely changed in a really good way. They were calmer, they earned triple the money, they signed that agent, they got the promotion. I mean, literally every single one, they got the relationship, every single one who attended the first retreat was blown away, and I was blown away by their results, and have to say I can't take ownership of that at all, right? I was just there to facilitate. But seeing that, it gave me actually no choice but to continue. I thought it was really beautiful and powerful. And if I can facilitate that, if my friend can facilitate that with me, then there's no turning back.
Yeah, it's once you see those transformations, then it's like I've always said this, but it's like you start seeing those transformations and you were a piece of that and
Mm-hmm.
facilitating that. It's like how could they it takes a little bit of a sociopath to be like, no, I don't really want to do that anymore.
Yeah, right. It was really something I realized that is my contribution.
Mm.
If that is my contribution to the world, then so be it. If people take that contribution, take what I have to offer to heart and come to my retreat, as long as there's one person at my retreat, I guess I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like I think, I don't probably hadn't shared this with you too much, but I've thrown a lot of events over the years and I did podcast events. We do podcasts in front of a live audience and like what you were saying about it doesn't just fall into place yeah, there's a lot of intention that goes into this and I've never personally ran a retreat, but I know that those are so intentional. I've attended a lot of them and so there's a lot that goes into it and so just honoring you for stepping into that. It's not a light lift at all, but all the retreats that I've been at, even if they're not in the greatest retreats, like people just crave connection these days. And when you're the one
Mm.
that facilitates it and puts these amazing people in the room, like that's such a value add that um, I don't think a lot of people truly understand what it takes to put that together and what it takes
Yeah.
internally, externally, everything.
And I also found that the curation of the group is enormously important. And so, after making a few mistakes, I really interview people now. It's not, you get invited to my retreats. Um, Obviously, we love having people who are interested, but in general, we started to curate around the participants who say yes earlier on, and that's how we create the groups. Because we found also that a group where people are really having a similar energy, similar drive, and they totally don't necessarily have to do the same things, but just the energy, when it fits, it really fits, and then everything is created from there. And the group is also enormously important to support each other, because if one person has a vision and the other 9, 10 people support that vision, that is a exponential amount of energy going into one person's dream.
Mhm.
And so I think, or that's my theory, that's why actually those results show up so quick, because it's not only one person's energy, it's like the whole group's energy going behind and giving that vision and that goal momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so on board with that. And I mean, something I've shared quite a bit and that what I love is like connecting people. And
Mm-hmm.
I've done pretty well at it over the years and always continuing to want to get better. And I love doing it. And the reason that I've found myself to do it pretty well is that I know people well. I get to know them and I know their vision and what they want to create and where they're going and like what they're after. And so because of that, then I can connect them with the right people. I'm like, oh, you want to do this? You're creating this. Like, you need to connect with this person. Right. And so it's like the quickest, fastest, coolest way to bring a vision into life is that when other people know your vision and you're willing to share your vision. I think it's, I get it to a certain degree, but I think there's a lot of people that keep things so tight to their chest that they don't want to share it. And I've just seen the complete opposite, where if you share it with, obviously, with the right people, but when you share it with your trusted confidants, they want to support you. Like this past event that I spoke at, we played his Vision Espresso at the event, and he had numerous people that reached out and being like, "Hey, I'd love to help you with this. I'd love to help you with this. I'd love to." Yeah. And it's so cool because the other thing I realize more and more every day is that people want to help. Like I've just seen it over and over again, and people actually get a lot of gratification and fulfillment from helping people.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot more challenging to help someone if you don't really know them and where they're going. And
Yeah.
so it's exactly to your point of, I imagine of course, that's why a huge reason on why your events and your retreats are so powerful is because you're in an intimate space with people that you've curated and vetted and are trusted. And then people feel safe to share their vision and what they're excited about and creating. And then everybody wants to be a part of that and help them.
Yeah. And I'm glad that somehow me and Emilia Nielsen, who co hosts these retreats, were able or have been able to create this kind of safe space, because we have people there at times who are very sensitive. They're creators, they're amazing people. I mean, yes, we vetted them as well, but they've never done any therapy, they've never done any retreat before, right? And how can you create that kind of safety for, especially we have men and women both, so there's no, how should I say that, bromance. Maybe I should not say that word actually at all. Or like, this um, um, female bonding. It's not something that just happens at my retreat just because I have a really good balance of people from both genders. And so yeah, so I have really the whole spectrum of people. And how do you create such a space, and you can't create it on your own? I do totally acknowledge that I create the space with Emilia, but I also create it with the people who are coming. And as much as I share, they are willing to share too, right? So in a sense, I always go first with being vulnerable, but with sharing without losing the lead in that sense. But it is kind of a craft for me, and I'm always surprised how it works.
What's been one of your biggest, I was gonna say lessons, but even just surprises, ahas, like maybe things that you weren't expecting? Like what have you got? What have you personally got the most out of running these retreats?
I guess what has surprised me the most is my ability to just be there and put Kim aside. And oftentimes when I teach, when I'm there, it really comes through me. And I can really let go and trust that I have the right intuition, and I'm gonna say the right things at the right time, and everything's gonna be okay. And knowing me from 10 years ago, it's a wild, wild difference, right? I have always been someone who wanted to control things, wanted to plan things to the T. I mean, I have a PhD in mathematics. And so for a very long time, like the logical mind, the planning, it was really a part of me. And it only loosened up when I started to teach at Yale and be professor, and really starting to do research on a very high level, where I realized, oh, research actually means you're looking into things you don't know. And you really need to let go of that control in order to let things come to you and to be able to discover things. And so it was a real journey, because letting go of control I found very hard and very painful. And there were so many up and downs. since, leaving math and starting producing and all of that, and really step by step letting go of that control. So looking at me from 10 years ago, where I had maybe a theoretical understanding of why letting go is really important, knowing what I'm doing nowadays at the retreats, but also when I'm coaching or also when I'm acting, it's really wild to me. And that is the most surprising thing. And, and on top of that, I think the response, because I am letting go and putting my ego, Kim, a little bit aside, the response I'm getting from the participants, I think, is so much more open because they can show up, the way they want. The space is there, the space is theirs.
That's powerful because, after throwing lots of events, I it got to me. Like my ego got involved, like
Mm.
heavily. I didn't even realize it because it was like, I always kind of viewed myself as a pretty honest, humble, authentic dude. And I ended up this year, I worked extensively on really gaining a lot more awareness around this and seeing how it got kind of like tangled up and whatnot. And it can get tricky. And so that's why, as a leader of anything, an organization, a retreat, an event, a business, like anything, why it's so important to, like what you said, take Kim out and just like being present and let it, you being the conduit to it all. And so it's important because if there is any sort of ego that's coming in and it is about the leader, it just doesn't work. And then there's like a mix of energy that doesn't quite jive, and then
Yeah.
it starts kind of frizzling away. So it's cool that you've had that experience, or you've already like had that realization, and you lead from a place of servant leadership as opposed to like, this is about me.
Yeah, and I have to be super honest. That's why I always get my own room so my ego can come out, when I'm on my own in my room. And that's totally fine too. I'm not really not perfect, far from it. Um, so yeah, that's also why it's actually pretty surprising that this is the way I started to lead the retreats, right? From a place of yeah, of openness and real, in a way, emptiness.
Mm.
Yeah.
Where do you see them going? Like, what's the vision for everything that you're creating?
You know, I would love people to discover the retreat, the deep reset retreat for them. Um, I would love as many people as possible to discover what it can do for them. And I'm not here to, show you the way at all. Like, for everyone who shows up in a retreat, it's their journey, it's their job to like really be open and listening to themselves. I'm just there to give them the structure and the systems to ask the right questions, to think the right thoughts, to get the clarity they're coming for, and feel confident with themselves. Um, so, the more people are doing it, I think the more this community, our community as well, becomes a community that understands how to handle change, how to handle reinventions, how to handle pivoting, how to handle starting over. And especially in a time where everything changes so fast, like now, um, understanding how you can always find a place in your own ecosystem is so important to know. I think that takes a lot of fear out of the equation, a lot of frantic actions, a lot of panic moves, a lot of compromising because you think it's not the right time to change your career, it's not the right time to do what you want, it's not the right time to show yourself, right? The more people who come to my retreat and the more people who experience that is totally not true, I think the better we're all off. Um, And also, I wanted to say there were two people already who came the second time,
Mm,
and their change was absolutely mind blowing to me, honestly. They were from the first retreat, before the first retreat, end of the first retreat they attended, and then the second retreat. At the end of the second retreat, I thought, wow,
mm.
so beautiful. You can't but start loving the people when you really see their true selves. Yeah. Sorry, I got diverted. You asked where I'm gonna see this going.
I
Um,
got lost in your story too, but yeah.
I think I really want, again, as long as people are interested in this and want to go through this transformation at the Deep Reset Retreat, as long as there are people who want to do it, I'm gonna do it.
Mm. Yeah, that's servant leadership. It's like I heard this quote recently, a little while ago. It said it's not about me, but it's for me to do.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
that illustrates it perfectly.
yes.
It's about the
I
great.
Yes, I so agree with you because again, remember, I really did not want to run a retreat. I've never had a dream as a kid. Oh, I'm gonna run retreats. No, this is this fell into my lap. Someone out there insisted, and here I am.
Well, you answered the call.
I did. I answered your call too. So thank you.
Yeah, well, it's. I read this book. It's called Vocal Leadership. It's a really powerful book, and it talked about it on one of the final chapters. It was really cool. It was all about vision and really being committed to the vision, not just having a vision, but like the conviction in what you're doing and creating and building and becoming. And just talking about how, like, if you're at the end of this book, it was a not a huge book, but 300-400 pages, and it's like if you're here at the end of the last chapter, it tells me something about you. It tells me that you're the kind of person that can't not answer the call.
Mm,
It's just those type of people that even if it's like the hero's journey, the
yeah.
story arc of every like movie, and it's like there's always a call to the main character, and they resist the call.
Hmm.
And eventually, that call gets too loud, and they're just like, can't
Yeah.
avoid it. They finally at some point they're like, all right, I'm going, I'm taking it, and I just think that's like really cool about what's going on in the world. I think a lot of people are waking up and taking
Mm,
time to sit and listen and even understand and realize that there is a call coming in, and then therefore answering the call and then taking on. Because I feel that same way when I was dabbling around. I would largely say that I was dabbling around a lot
mm,
with business and did some cool things, did marketing for some big companies, and it was very flashy and yeah, looked really cool. I just always didn't. I never felt like it was like something I was deeply honored to be doing and telling people about. And
mm,
then once that call, because I was in Utah by myself for a week on top of Angels Landing in Zion National Park, and it's probably one of the first times I really heard a call,
wow.
and it was like I couldn't not hear it. And then as soon as I heard it, I was like, I have to. I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then the calls get louder when they're supposed to, and new calls come in that are like part of the initial call. At least that's been my experience. But yeah,
Mm,
all that to be said is like you get to a point when you understand yourself and you get more deeply connected to what is true for you and
mm,
your higher power and God. And for me, and it's like after a while, it's not even an option.
yeah.
You just
Also, there are consequences if you don't
yeah.
answer it, right? Like you get really hit hard left and right if you resist it, and it's not pretty. So I don't know. I definitely considered not answering the call, but I have done it so many times not answering the call that I know what the consequences are. It's usually, I don't know, falling and tearing my Achilles and or like getting depressed, or for some people it's losing the job if they know it's not the right job, but I just not listening. Some people know they're not in a right relationship and they're not listening, and something happens. um, yeah, you don't ever want to you know look back and say, I should have listened to my intuition, right?
Mhm.
And that's what we're training. We're really training to listen, and we're really training to act on it as well, because otherwise, what good is it if you hear the voice and you don't follow through? But out of curiosity, is that why you founded Vision Espresso, because of that book you just mentioned?
No, that was just recently. I
Oh,
just read that book. Just like all these confirmations. Uh, well, so that's like part one to your question there. But part two, in relation to what you shared about physical injury, there's definitely times. One of the most profound things that ever happened to me was a quite chaotic traumatic injury. So I
mm,
was, yeah, just not like just let me explain it, like just distracted with life and all the things that are not good for me, and everything just started piling up. Like business all of a sudden started just like
yeah.
relationship. The one
Mm,
thing that was going decent was my health, and I was lifting pretty heavy and getting pretty strong. And I went to the gym this one day, and I found myself particularly frustrated this particular day, and went to the gym. I was bench pressing. I put on more weight than I normally do. I went to
mm,
flat bench because I wanted to even push it harder.
yeah.
Literally my last set, last rep, I'm going to rack it, and it just falls right
Oh,
back on my chest. I tore my pectoral tendon.
oh no.
It was a mess. But at the same time, like I needed that. I needed something to like wake me up out of this fog that I was in.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I had literally two friends years ago who came to me, um, sharing with me that they were not happy in their job. Um, and I told both of them the same thing. I told both of them, you need to keep moving immediately. Like this is really your intuition telling you that you need to change something. And one person, she started coaching with me. She immediately started the process, and she went out and she created opportunities. She got an opportunity that wasn't even on the job market. 10 months later, she signed her contract for CEO for a really huge company in Switzerland. And the week she put in her resignation, her department at the old job got dissolved and her boss got fired. So she would have had to look for another job anyways, right? And the other friend of mine, he was not hearing what I was saying. Well, he heard it, but his excuse was, the health insurance is really good. I'm really comfortable. It's not urgent. I can look for a new job next year. Next year come around the same time, he got fired after 14 years as a manager for the same company in Switzerland, and that's unheard of. So, I mean, Switzerland is not the US, right? So, so it's really, it was out of nowhere. And then it left him scrambling, first of all, shocked, and then scrambling for another job. So he took another job, even though he knew that it wasn't the right one for him either. So recently, when I met him, I asked him, how are you feeling? And he said, oh, I'm not doing so well. And before I even opened my mouth, he said, I got it. I got the message. I'm looking. I already applied for a new job. And then he said something interesting. He said, well, I'm going to hire you as my coach after I survive the first 2 rounds, because then I probably really need coaching. And he never called. And I checked in with him literally this week, and he said he didn't make the last round. And I'm like, oh man, and now it's like the whole process again. And, I'm not saying that coaching is gonna help you solve all of your um, problems, but I do believe that if there is even a tiniest seed of insecurity or trauma coming from job loss, or feeling insecure about um, the job interviews, if there is a part of that that is there, then you need to take care of that immediately, whether it's, you know, with anyone, with any coach, or with therapy, or with meditation, or with running, or with journaling. I think really it's the most important thing.
Well, you mentioned something earlier. I think it was before we got on to the podcast, but you were talking about fear and how those feelings and emotions can come up just as strong as if you're like, I forget your first example, but like maybe being abandoned when you're young and
Hmm.
then have a similar emotion when you're checking your bank account.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would love for you to dive even a little bit deeper into what you would say to people that are experiencing those type of deep, heavy emotions when they shouldn't. I wouldn't say shouldn't, but like, checking a bank account
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
same,
So
like being threatened or something like that.
thank you for asking, and for everyone who is listening in. It was in a context of the community call of the Deep Reset retreats. All of the participants who have ever participated in any of my coaching programs can attend to that, in that community call. And yesterday in the community call, we were talking about fear, because the request was there to, how do you deal with fear, especially right now? We're basically at war. War's in our living room, like AI is taking over.
Yeah.
February, I think, was the highest job loss for a very long time. And so how do you actually deal with fear? And what was really interesting is, and I had really no idea, that some participants who have been at my retreats, they have experienced actually very rough upbringings, like, living in South Africa and really seeing gun violence and being held at gunpoint. Another person who was actually at war, who was a soldier, and another girl who got robbed um, not too long ago at gunpoint. And all these moments, and I shared my death and life moment as well in these calls. And so we were talking through a framework that really helps when you're really in a situation of, you're really freezing, you're about to hyperventilate, your ears start ringing, your knees go weak, you start hearing your heartbeat, because you are super hyper aware in that moment. How do you respond when that happens? And it can happen literally when some people open their bank account, or when um, they get a call and they expect the worst thing, or in perceived normal situations from the outside, right? People are having panic attacks or feeling really fearful. So we're talking about that, and I'm just a disclosure, that disclaimer, I'm in no way a medical doctor. I'm not a psychologist, but what I've learned is what I'm using in those situations that got me through death and life situations twice. So the framework was first touch something and look, and that is just anchoring you in a moment. And that is actually from acting. When actors go on stage and start like being jittery and losing their voice and being really nervous, getting stage fright, the um, common tip in that moment is really touch something. So your nervous energy can go into a thing, a table, a stool,
Mm.
you know, a sofa, maybe a cane or something that you can touch. That was the first step. Touch something and look, anchor by your looks into the present moment. Some people are really good at hearing. I'm not really um, so much into audio. I don't think I could, just by listening to the noises and voices, I don't think it would be enough for me to anchor in a moment. But for some people, it helps. And then the second step was to speak and to ground, you know, whether it's putting both feet on the ground and then speaking it by hearing your voice and hearing your own, having a own vibration going through your body, it calms usually people down. And then you can also go deeper in your voice. So that is step two. So we had touch and look, speak and ground, then be and breathe. So that's funny. I usually say that in the third step because when you say, yeah, when you're afraid, just breathe, it doesn't usually help because the last thing on earth you're thinking about when you're about to think you're about to die is, oh, breathe. That isn't coming naturally usually. So when you're really in a dangerous situation, you just want to hold your breath. So you need something else to ease into the moment before you can even think of, oh yeah, breathing. Be and breathe, and then ask the right questions. What will it take to get me out of this situation? What will it take to improve the situation? Where can I go in order to feel safe? Who can I ask to feel safer? All these questions
Mm.
need to come so that your brain can start thinking proactively and then act.
Mm. That's powerful. So you look and feel, then you breathe.
So you touch and you look.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
you,
like you basically you feel something sensual in order to understand, okay, your body is there, you're there. Yeah, it's touch and look, ground and speak, be and breathe, ask the right questions, and then act.
mm, so good. Wow, I don't think I've heard it about that, about like look and touch. But
Yeah,
that
it's
really puts you in the moment because if you're like kind of all over the place and you're, it can get easy to get caught in those all those thoughts. But if you like
yeah.
bring yourself into reality by grounding yourself into something that is physical, and you
Hmm.
feel it. So I've even
Yeah.
noticed times like when I'm really good and present, I'm usually like I'll be like rubbing
Breathing.
my fingers
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
like, or I was like touching my tongue to the top of my roof of the
Hmm.
mouth, something like that. So like to just remind myself of something physical, that's very
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
And I
I,
love the words and the questions. Because I remember
mhm.
there was one time in particular that I was at a pretty challenging place, and the person that was facilitating, he was talking about like if these things come up, ask yourself why are they coming up, and don't just like take a passive approach to it, but more so like active. Like, what is this teaching me? How could I move through that? Just asking these like solution oriented questions. I'm so adamant about questions and our words because our words are illustrations of what our thoughts are, and they also they coincide back and forth too. Because like the more intentional you are with your words, the more you can navigate your thoughts. Because we have 50,000 thoughts a day. It's
Mhm.
challenging to manage that amount of thoughts, but if you're intentional with your words, that can influence your thoughts and really start slowing you down.
Yes. And so, a little tip about asking the right questions here for everyone who's listening is don't go for the how questions. The how is not your business. The how is the business of the universe. How people meet and how things fall into place, what the timing is of things, it's really none of your business. It's gonna be coordinated for you. However, ask W questions. Where do I find? What does it take? Who can I ask? Um, what do I need to do? What's the next step?
Mm,
Right? So that is helping your brain to really hone into the specifics.
mm, yeah, I like that. That's powerful. Mm,
Yeah. And what you said about, you know, the touch, I wanted to also give a little shout out to my acting teacher. I do have
mm,
a lot of these methods and tools when it comes to just fear. And we're not talking about nervous system regulation here, right? That goes deeper. And that is also part of my retreat where we do shadow work and nervous system regulation and so on, where we really go into your core programs and kind of reprogram these a part of your subconscious so you're not self-sabotaging. But I'm not talking about this framework is really purely when you're about to freeze, you want to run, you don't know what to do with yourself because you can't handle the situation because you're just so afraid,
mm,
right? And so um, I use a lot of acting tools here because stage fright was a real thing for me for a while.
mm,
And being able to handle that in front of a huge audience, hosting a film festival, which I also have done in the past, like knowing, okay, touching the, even feeling the microphone in my hand, it helped.
mm,
And so, yeah, I just wanted to discern these two things, fear in a moment and nervous system regulation. These are not necessarily the same things. You want to look into what actually make you afraid after the situation appeared, and sometimes you're afraid because you have a very valid reason. Someone's standing next to you with a golf club ready to kill you. Someone is pointing a gun at you. These kind of situations happen to people in this world. So yeah, just wanted to make that difference here.
mm. Yeah, so there's a difference between fear and nervous system regulation. That's what you're saying.
Well, the tools are different. Do you want
Mm,
to regulate your nervous system? It's probably a good thing because long term, you want to get on top of being able to understand what your body is telling you, and being able to not self sabotage in the things you really want to achieve. And for that, you need nervous system regulation. The framework to handling fear, you want to maybe practice that too, just for the case you really need it.
mm, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we went down the fear and the nervous system regulation, and obviously there's so many more things like vision and living for your vision and really making sure that your vision comes to pass is probably the reason why we're sitting here. So I just wanted to bring it back to something more positive.
Yeah. Well, it's all part of life, right? I remember there was a big realization at one point in my life where, like, if we're judging ourselves for, or like not happy about ourselves in one particular area of life, like having fear around something or being dysregulated, it's like there's that self judgment about this little piece of you that's judging yourself as a whole. And it's like, well, like it's just like it's life. Like there's the ups and downs, there's the good and the bad. It's all the human experience.
Yes, and we can look at the human experience in a very purposeful way, right? So it's not, you can look at life random at in a random way. You can look at life thinking, okay, this doesn't have rhyme or reason. I don't understand. This is chaos. Um, However, as someone who actually researched in a field of randomness, right? My research field was random matrix theory. I came to the understanding that even in the greatest randomness, there's order, there's structure, there's a system. You just need to find the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about the way you look at it. So I really am a believer that when you find a pattern, when you find the structure within the chaos, the randomness, it's almost like the body is sighing in relief, because when there is a purpose, when there is a higher goal, when there is a vision to be found, then everything realigns and everything works towards that. And there is a drive that we cannot underestimate, right? I often say the why is really what is really making you work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking my language.
Yes, I know.
It's
Yes.
like a fuel to life. Because I think about it even from like a more of a micro standpoint. Think about when you are working throughout the week and then you don't have anything planned on the weekend versus a week where you are going to like your favorite artist's concert on Saturday
Mhm.
night. And it just like it gives you some excitement, something to look forward to, something where you're going, and there's like more zest, juice to your life. And I think that's just the case. Like if everyone was like, and that's why again I keep sharing this. This really came through to me recently, but like getting 8 billion people to listen to their Vision Espresso in the morning, and like what
Mhm.
would shift instantly if that happened tomorrow morning. And
Absolutely.
it's because like people would be excited about something, they'd be moving towards something. It gives them hope.
Yeah.
Most people are like sitting in this place of just like trying to get through the day, and my heart
Mhm.
goes to them because I've been in those places too.
Mhm.
And but it's just like if we be intentional, it's like oh my gosh, yeah, I had to comment on this because I didn't tell you about it, but when you the song that you picked,
Mm.
the mirror will drop its jaw when you
Mhm.
become the version first. And there's this, oh my gosh, this was like one of the most profound teachings I've ever heard, but it's the concept of the delayed mirror.
Mhm.
And so it's basically exactly what that song describes, but it's like the mirror, like you don't you don't look at the mirror. And so like just from a example standpoint, like if you're looking in the mirror and you like the mirror's like if I put my hand up, then the mirror's gonna reflect that, right?
Mhm.
It's not like the mirror's gonna put my hand up and then I'm going up. But the caveat is that life is really a delayed mirror. And so how you're showing up, how you're raising your hand metaphorically, it's not gonna like you're not gonna raise it up and be like, all right. You look at the mirror and it's like the hand goes up. It's like you raise your hand and you keep looking at your hand, basically like a metaphor for you doing the work, not focus on the validation and everything outside of yourself. But eventually that hand does come up in the mirror because you proved it to the mirror that you
Mhm.
were being the version of you that is required to fulfill that vision. And then the mirror responds and drops its jaw, as it says in the song.
Yes. I love that song so much, and I listen to it so many times because it reminds me really of, okay, my only responsibility is to make sure I'm set up right, right? So the mirror, which is for me the 3D world, is reflecting what I'm putting out. So in my teaching, it's really about um, really going inward first. And but I'm a real believer in action as well. I mean, again, I'm an actor and a mathematician, right? I'm
Mm.
a daughter of a North Vietnamese and a South Vietnamese parent. And I grew up in Switzerland, and I'm really trying to be balanced here. So, but I do believe inward comes first, the feminine energy of really reflecting, really looking at your vision, really looking at your goals, really looking at your energy as well. And then you go outward and really see, like you do the lifting the hands in front of the mirror, right? To see what happens. But like decide first which hand you want to lift, right? Decide first how do you want to stand in front of that mirror, so you can actually do the action, and then really the world reflects back to you. And you know what, with the delay, I'm wondering, and that's just a theory, Nico, I have no idea where this is going when I'm saying that, but I'm not sure it's always delayed. Like the universe sometimes gives me instantaneously what I'm asking for or not asking for. Um, so I think there is something to be said about things that are delayed. I think it's the emotional charge, or it's when we attach meanings to it that have like a more heavier energy that slows things down, to be
Mm,
honest. That is kind of my theory. But
mm,
if we are just like really looking at things the way they are, not attaching any meaning or belief system or heaviness to it, things can happen extremely fast.
mm. When we were about ending up here, but and this question could open things, but I'd love at least like if something comes to you, is what has been an example of one of those things that where you decided and showed up in the way that was required and you didn't assign meaning and attachment to it. What was one of those things that really came through quick for you?
I think it was one of the auditions. So as an actor, we always have the feeling when we book an audition, we're a good actor. When we don't book an audition, we're a bad actor. The reality, though, is that whether you're a good or a bad actor has nothing to do with booking an audition or not. If you're an actor, you're getting auditions, and some of those auditions, or most of the auditions, you won't book. It's just part of the job. Okay, so when I can forget that the meaning I attach to booking an audition, then it usually goes really well. The moment I think, oh my God, I hope I won't butcher it, or I hope they like me, or anything like that, that is kind of attachment and meaning giving to the auditioning itself, I get stiff. I'm not doing my best. And so one of the movie roles I booked was when I had to talk Vietnamese. And I'm not the best in talking Vietnamese. My parents never really, first of all, they completely have different dialects. And as a kid, I was completely confused what kind of language I'm supposed to be speaking.
Mhm.
And also, I didn't grow up really totally all the time speaking Vietnamese to them. So my Vietnamese is rusty. I can speak it. And when I had this audition, I had to do it in Vietnamese. My brain was completely focused on am I getting the Vietnamese right? So I was completely forgetting about whether they like me or not. For me, it was like, I just want to get these Vietnamese sentences out in the right way. And I booked a role because I was really not worried about the acting. I just let loose. So that's one example for sure.
Mm. I resonate with that when I played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
When, well, first I was going to say too is coming back to your whole theory about the questions and asking W questions as opposed to how questions. Because like you're asking, oh, how do I get this role, or how do I make sure that they like me? Or but the better question could be, you know, what is it going to take for me to operate as the best version of myself here? What
Yes.
So I was just starting that was kind of starting to come through. But what I was going to say about my baseball, and that's a huge part of my past and why I even got into the work that I did. I've literally been building Vision Espresso since I was 18, 20 years ago because of a series of events. But it taught baseball taught me so many lessons, and I think I learned one of the biggest lessons one of my last few years of playing. My dad would always tell me this early on, but I was like, you know, I was young, didn't know. You don't know, I know that. But he would always tell me to go have fun. Just like go enjoy it, have a good time. But like in my mind, after I got past like more youth and I started like taking baseball more seriously, I was like, well, I'm gonna go play in the MLB and like it's serious. And so it was funny because like one of my last years, I actually kind of thought that my career was gonna end because I just like wasn't playing very well and had some happenings with the coach and team and just like I was like this season's over and it's probably going to be my last season. And it was funny because after that, I just started inadvertently having more fun. Like I would just like play jokes on people, like little pranks here and there. And I would just make up little funny jokes and we'd like arm wrestle or leg wrestle before the games. Like just wasn't taking it serious at all. Cause I was like, whatever, none of this matters. And then I ended up having like one of the best years of my entire career. And then I got recruited to go play at a D1. And I was like, what?
Wow.
It's crazy. And so, and then it's funny too, because like I completely forgot about that and then got serious again. And then, but it's just
Yeah.
so funny when I mean, not funny,
Yeah.
but ironic you say that about just enjoy it. And that's usually how it all works out better.
It's so true. And people say, and just enjoy it, have fun. However, like, what I said about attaching meaning or certain beliefs to a certain event, that is what takes the fun out of it. So when you remove that, and that's what people call detachment, but no one explains to you what detachment is actually, how you detach. But so it's really detaching the meaning and the belief from the event itself. And then the joy comes back naturally if it is something that is aligned with you, right? Yeah,
Okay.
totally. The joy and the fun is the right fuel. Remember when, first time in love, you would have gone nights without sleeping, just going out with that person and having fun and not knowing how you would be able to go to work the next day or to class the next day. All of that didn't matter because you just had so much fun.
Yeah. That might be a perfect time to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Kim, for being on. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit more about your retreats? You got a couple coming up, one in Tulum, one in Paris. I've heard amazing things about these from a trusted source. So, yeah, tell everyone about it, how they can learn more about it, and yeah, excited to hear more.
I think the easiest way to learn about it is to go on my website, drkimdang.com/retreats. I have one coming up in Tulum, May 13th to 18th, and then one in south of France, actually not Paris, but it's south of France, really beautiful. You have to probably fly through Paris though, if you're coming from the US, but south of France, August 26th to 31st. So obviously, the retreats are by invite, but if you want to come and if that speaks to you, I'm so happy to sit down with everyone who wants to come and figure out, which one of the retreat would be the best for you and when and how we can make it happen. What would it take for you to come to retreat? That's my question then.
Yeah, the W question.
The W questions. I love that you picked that up. Thank you for doing that. This makes me so happy.
Of course, I've heard different variations of that. You're not, and this comes even back into because I've studied a lot of, you could call it manifestation or creation or any of that kind of stuff. And they always talk about that. Like it's not your job to know the how. It's just know the what and the why, and the universe and everything else will figure it out.
Agree.
Oh, and then is another great place to do. Yeah. Boom. Is Instagram a good place for people to connect with you?
Oh, yes. Dr. Kim Dang
Cool.
on
Awesome. Well,
Instagram.
I appreciate you. Any last words that you have for anybody?
Oh, thank you for listening in and thank you for sticking with us. I really appreciate you, Niko, and Vision Espresso. Whoever has not done Vision Espresso, get in touch with Niko because what he's doing is really, really amazing.
Well, cool, folks. Thanks for listening to this one, and we'll catch you on the next podcast.
Bye, guys.